Hello and welcome to Common Sense for Relationship. Okay, I know I don't say it exactly like my wife. She has a way of saying it, but um, I'm all you guys have got today. So as you see me like this, just be managing me like this. Where is the wife, the owner of the show? She's not available at the moment. We are hoping that she'll be able to try again, but in case she doesn't call in before the show ends, you just know that it's only me that is here and I've come to represent. So you guys have to really encourage me today so that this show can go well. All right. So we're starting, we're starting as always. But how many of you were here last week? Oh, I can see Debbie. Debbie, hi. Debbie, hi. You're always on point. You're always on time. We celebrate you. So if you're joining us for the first time, please let us know where you are coming from. Yes, I know you're expecting to see us yesterday, but unfortunately, yesterday we had network. In fact, they said if there was a fiber cut in your location, so that was the reason why we couldn't come to you yesterday, and the show had to move till today. I'm getting some information from my technical guys. Ah, I need to centralize. Washiri, Father in heaven, you have to help this show today. The show will work anyhow. Yeah, so if you are joining us for the first time, please welcome. um Let me respond to my technical guys though, because they are the one that will help this show work very well. Yes, good. So welcome. Um, if you're joining us for the very first time, I almost said if you are worshiping with us for the first time, OTJ worship service. You see, that's what happens when the wife is not here to orchestrate the event. You know me, I am assistant co-host. So, but when the host is not around, I have to like show up. Yes, I have to hold forth. Where is my wife? She is ministering right now. As we speak, she's ministering in the city of Abuja. She does plenty things. So today, music is what carried her away. We're thinking that, oh, we'll have her for the show, but man, she's in the thick of things. But the show must go on. Yes, Deborah, you're right. By fire, by force, the show must go on. So we're on, and we're going to be discussing the issues. She's one that usually speaks English very well. So when she's not around, when she's around, there's English. But when she's not around, I have to find a way to speak English very well. So if you are hearing phone in my voice or anything like that, just breathe, right? Just breathe. Let yourself breathe and know that, yeah, I'm really trying to roll this show anyhow. So what did we discuss last week? We started the What is Wrong series last week. And in the What is Wrong series, we are trying to look at matters that touch the heart along the streets of relationships, life, and, just being able to do things well, make better decisions for your life, okay, and your relationships. So today, what is the matter that we are discussing? But before I go in, I can see you guys. Where are my guys on Facebook? Holler me from Facebook, please. If you're joining us from Facebook, please do 111. If today is your first time of joining us, please use the hashtag first timer, and let us discuss, let us yarn, let us talk, you know, let us talk. So, how is it going over at your place? Today, we want to discuss standards. And since I'm flying solo, you know that the person that always does definitions is, of course, my wife. See, if you hear me talking about my wife plenty times today, just know that me too, I'm missing her. You're not the only one that is missing her. So don't give me that this thing. Don't give me attitude because me too, I'm giving attitude. Today is my attitudinal day. I'm giving attitude anyhow today because I can. Right. So yeah. Right. Today we're talking about standards. What did standard do and what did standard not do? What are standards? And like I said, it's my wife that always has the definition. She's the one that will define, will go to dictionary, look for the definition, you know. But me, my own is just to carry definition from somewhere and give you. Do you understand? Like if you say what are standards, me, I will say standard is whatever you are standing as. Ah, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Ah, my goodness, guy, you would not understand. Standard is anything you are standing as. That's your standards. Oh my goodness. But if I'm going to try to be like my wife, let me see the definition that she gave. That was the definition that she gave. Um, she said standards are like a measure or norm, right? Or a level of quality. You see, so he said a measure, a norm, a level of quality. That's what standard is. See, that's why I miss my wife. The English helps to balance things. Do you understand? So a level of quality. What has that got to do with life and relationship? And why are we treating it in the What is Wrong series? So today, tell me, what are your in relationship? How has standards affected you in the relationships that you have had? What has the level of quality got to do with the quality of your relational experience, or maybe even the quality of your life? Those standards affect your life. Those standards, what are they necessary? Are they important? What have they done? We had a conversation with some guys, a group of guys, and I hope they are online, so that they can share an opinion, and we can look at it and see what is standards and how do they affect your relationship, right? Last week we did In Touch with My Ex, What's Wrong series. And after we have spoken about whether it is good, whether it is not good, whether it should continue, whether it should not continue, there were a lot of comments and feedbacks about it. And we began to look at the issues around it. But there was one other question that somebody raised that I would want to ask. One other question someone raised. And what was the question? The question is, if you have left someone, what is it that makes you go back? If you have left a relationship, why do you go back? If you have left a job, why do you want to go back? Why do people, quote and unquote, as if it is like a case of going back to their vomit? Do you understand? Do you understand? Why do people do that? Um, you said some guy broke your heart, right? The guy broke your heart, but somehow you are in a new relationship, but there's something you are missing that is making you go back. Are those standards? Uh, why do why do why do why do ladies compare the next guy with the former guy? Have you been a former guy before? Have you been in a state where you are being the one that is being compared? Ah, I can see John. John, welcome. Welcome to the show. You know, and I wanted to ask, yeah, guys, let's have this conversation. I'm sending in the link. Let's have this conversation. Let's discuss what has standards got to do with relationship, and what is wrong with relationship these days, because there's so much makeup and breakup, and there's no good girls around. The good girl says, ah, all the good guys are married. In fact, I had that conversation with someone this week, and she said that all the good guys are married. There are no good guys remaining, you know. I asked one other girl I had a conversation with, ah, what kind of guy are you looking for? He says, okay, someone like you. I said, ah, did you know me before now? So if someone like me is your standard, are you going to find, if you're looking for someone like me, you probably have to be looking for someone with 15 years marriage experience. So, what have standards got to do with relationship, good or bad? I want you guys to come in on the show. Let's have a discussion. Log in, hook in. Oh, I can see Mayowa is backstage. Mayowa, please join me. Don't let me fly solo. Don't let me fly solo. Mayowa, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello,
PK, I
Mayowa, can
can
you
hear
hear
you.
me?
Can you hear me, sir?
Mayowa, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Good evening,
Mayowa,
PK.
what have you got to say today? I'm flying solo, so you have to encourage me. You have to
I
encourage me.
think I think I even want to start from last week because I must have missed a lot. Like
Uh-huh.
last week, having to not be around for the conversations on going back to this X thing because I think I have some
Yes.
experiential knowledge with that. Yeah,
Mayowa,
PK, obviously,
give us experiential
you
knowledge, please.
obviously know my story, right? So
Yeah.
I don't think I can go into much details, but I was in a relationship with
Yeah, no,
someone
no,
for
you
a
don't
really
need to. Just give us
I was
surface
in a
and
relationship with someone for a
let's
really
see.
long time, and
Mhm.
over the course of like almost a decade, I think we
Wow.
dated for 2 years out of that long time. But in that time, I think we must have broken up like twice. So it was like the first time was just like we're done. Like there's no going back. But then after like 1 month, you just realize that I think I actually miss this person. I miss talking to this person. Like all those interesting things, and that was the first time. And then they said evening and morning was the first day. And then there was another breakup, right? But so I think the second time it happened, there were better standards in place to make sure that there was no going back. So there were more people involved, and like I had people I was accountable to through the
Mhm.
course of that period. Because even the second time, if it was just me, I'm sure would have gotten back together. Because there was a time I think after like 2 months or so, and when you're not the only person, the other person too like probably has a change of heart. And then the person is
Mhm.
like saying things that might convince you and all the stuff. So yeah, on that topic, like it's easy for people to look from the outside and be like, ah, why are you going back? But now who go no, who no go no. So
That's a good
so
one. Now who go no?
oh, no, 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 no. So having experiential knowledge, I think I can understand where people that go back to their former relationships are coming from. And mine was even somehow better because there wasn't too much physical interaction. So I can imagine if
Mhm.
without all those physical interactions, it was still not so easy. You can imagine people that they have started asking questions like after all I've done for you,
Uh,
after money has been
that
spent,
famous question.
as in after money has been spent, after body has been
Mhm.
spent, like you understand, like you are using an iPhone 12 and the person that bought the this thing, you say you don't love him again. Rough play.
You
Yeah,
have to love.
you have to love. So I think that's just my comment on last week. I can understand where people are coming from, but definitely what
Why
helped me can also help other people. Yeah. So please just have people you're accountable to, have systems in place. Most times, what made you break up in the first place or the second place might probably not go away. It's not like the breakup just automatically makes them a better person or a different person. So yeah, I think I can say that to the this thing of last week. So I'll just be in the studio for a while longer till I have to come back up again and
Yeah.
discuss on today. Thanks for having me on the
Thank
show,
you.
PK.
Thank you. That's fine. That's fine. What I was going to ask, before you, what I was going to ask was that, um, so when when you find out that, okay, I'm done with this person, maybe because of difference in values, or difference in perspectives, or difference in personalities. Do you understand? When you find those difference, do you now say to yourself, maybe after you have broken up, or after you have had a a a point where you guys say, okay, it's better you go your own way, it's better I go my own way. Do you now say, okay, because I can't deal with this kind of person, this is now my standard for relationships. This is now the way I will do relationship. This is the quality of life that I want to have. And I am not going to bend it for anybody. Did you have those kind of thinking? Do you get what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think I understand where you're coming from. So how does coming out of the former relationship, how does it improve or help my standards?
Yes. Do you say, okay, because of what happened, I will add these things, or because of what happened, I will remove these things? Now, if you add those things, how does it now affect your next relationship? If you say I will remove these things, how does it now affect your next relationship? Because there's somewhere we're going. There's
Okay,
somewhere
so I
we're
think
going.
I have to start from here, right? One of
Now,
the things that keeps people in relationships that probably are not working for longer
yeah.
than they should is the reality that we know that even if you leave this person, it's not really like the second or the next person you will meet will be all the bells and whistles, all the rainbows and strawberry corns and all things. So people are not
Mhm,
perfect.
mhm.
So like sometimes before you leave a relationship, you're like, okay, this person I know, this person I've spent so much time with, I know what the person's flaws are, I know what their high points and low points are. If I leave this person, what guarantee is there that the next person that I will meet, even though the person would probably be better than this person in some areas, what if the person
Yeah.
falls short of this person in some areas? So I think that mentality of would I be able to get better is one of the things that also keep people in relationships for longer than they should. But you want to say something
Because there's the fear of, there may not there may
of the
not be a better
unknown?
guy outside. Let me manage a bird in hand.
Exactly,
Abi?
it's better than two in the bush. Exactly. Exactly. So that's one. But then talking about how like my former relationship or like how that has kind of improved my standards. So
Mm-hmm.
when you've been with someone for a while and then you get to you get to shift some things, right? So there's like a sharing, finding middle ground. So some things that were really
Mm-hmm.
important to you initially, when you like, okay, I can let go of this one's like, so like understanding, putting things on the table of needs and wants, or like
Mm-hmm.
must have and need to have. So there are some things that would
Need
probably
to
have
have,
been on
yeah.
your must have before, but then they have to come down to like your need to have because they are not really priorities, right? So having that in a relationship, like having to let go of some things when you are going to a new relationship, or if you are like single, you are able to bring all those things into perspective and be like, okay, is this really something I can stand? Is this really something I can live with? So sometimes it's
Mm.
not even really about new standards. It's about, okay, this same like standards I had before, bringing them into perspective based on the things I've learned. What can I do better? What can
Mm.
I rearrange? What can go away? But then also being in relationship with people, you get to learn things, learn and unlearn. So even you yourself coming out of the relationship, I hope you're a better person than you were when you were
Right.
going. Hey, that's if you dated the right person. But then obviously things will change. Like standards will change. You get to learn. Sometimes like you're in a relationship. Let's say for example, you're a guy, you're in a relationship with a lady that maybe cooks for you. Just as an example.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the
Mm-hmm.
case in
Mm-hmm.
my own. But then you know that going into another relationship, let's say for example, you know how much money somebody else cooking for you saved you, or how much joy it brought to you knowing that, oh, you might come over the weekend, or this lady will come over during the weekend and you will enjoy one really beautiful homemade soup. So going into another relationship, you might just be like, well, I'm not having less than this. Like if we're gonna do this, let it be someone that actually can cook. So things like that, standards change, things shift around, and oh yeah. I think I standards are something that have to be reformed after every, not even just romantic relationships, even
Yeah.
friendships.
Yeah.
Like we keep on informing our standards and making them better.
Yes, you keep on updating and improving. That just hold on. John is backstage, and John, what do you have to say? What do you have to say about these issues coming from last week, where we spoke about what is wrong in keeping in touch with your ex? To this week, we are saying what is wrong with having standards or little standards or no standards at all. Do you understand? Just maybe, for example, maybe some people want to marry and they say, if I have standard, I will chase away plenty people. What if I just bring it down so that at least let me find husband or wife to marry, because time is not waiting for anybody. Do you understand? So what do you
Yeah.
have to say to this?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Thank you for having me once again. Um,
Yes.
what I have to say about standards and relationship X and every of those things is to say I think if we have this at the back of our mind, that instead of trying to build standards or try, because we will keep chasing. If we say we are trying to upgrade or try, we are all different.
Mm-hmm.
When we realize that um this person is different from this person, even in the family, your siblings, um we don't have two people that are the same. We are all
Mm,
different. um Growing up, I know, um I was one of the brightest in the house, but um my other siblings, somehow we all have different gifts and people are
mm,
doing different things differently, right?
mm,
So what I believe in relationship is that um both of you are two different people. You are not even siblings. Even siblings are not even the same. Both of you are
yeah.
two different people in the world, and you now came to now start either trying to build something as friendship or try to build something um in a relationship. Now I think for doing relationship, me at the early stage, I don't like committing too much into relationship because I'm trying to check myself as to say,
Mm-hmm.
this thing I'm diving into, if they do me, the more you see, the less you understand. How do I handle it? So I try to do the check and balance. But what I think and I realize going forward is, if we try to assess or have a very, what's the word, very good mindset about the other person, instead of trying to think about the evils of this world towards that
Mm,
person, try to think of what can be good in this person. I think if we try thinking about that, the best version of that person, we will always want to do things that are good, instead of trying to see, would this person commit, or would this person try to make me bad, or would this person try to jilter me, or that's what I think, right? I could be wrong.
yeah.
I could be wrong, but I feel like we're two different people. Now, people keep saying things like I want to marry this person because of this and this
Mm,
and this.
mm,
I still feel um like people who marry for looks.
mm.
I have not seen where people who have problems, 15 years in marriage, come back to tell you, I married this person because the beards were very long and the eyebrows were still shining.
but, but,
No,
but,
but
but, but just to cut you, John, just to cut you, John, I have a question from uh, my pastor. I greet you, sir. He said, well, I can't get the topic. The topic we're discussing this evening is still second episode of the What is Wrong series. And this time we're talking about relationships, but you can extrapolate it to life. What is wrong with having standards? What is wrong with having little standards? What is wrong with having no standards? Because we are saying it's easy to say that, last week we dealt with keeping in touch with your ex. It's easy to say that, oh, you broke up with somebody, you are going on to a new relationship, but I mean, you want to there's you want to go back. Now we're saying, if you the people that want to go back, is it because they don't have standard, or is it because they have little standard, or is it because they have no standard? Some people say you have to lower your standard if you are going to find husband to marry or wife to marry, especially if the clock is counting. You can't say this is the standard I want to maintain of or in my relationship. This is the standard of woman I want to maintain. This is the standard of men I want to maintain. Hey. So that's what we're talking about this evening. But the better half is online.
Better
Yeah,
half is online with
yeah.
low battery because my
Ah,
phone has I've been away from the hotel for a while now. I haven't had the opportunity to charge my phone, so I might just be off at any time. But I just
yeah.
wanted to let you know that all the way from here, I'm supporting you. I'm saying hi, sweetie pie, and hello everybody. Yes, I'm in Abuja.
Mhm. She
I
went
came
to go
for a
and do the
conference. I came to
ministration of the Lord at a
yes, I
conference.
came to
Yes,
sing.
yes.
I wish I could show you what I'm wearing. Let me do
Please
small
show us
shaka.
what you are wearing, ma. Show us what you are wearing, ma.
I can't show you the
Yes.
top, and I can't show you the shoe. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Yeah, but
So because we're not around, I had to try to find a way to define standard. As I said, if you are around, you would have told them the definition of standard. But I said
oh,
standard is anything you are standing as. Stand as. Yes. Anything you are
oh my
standing
goodness.
as. So do you have one or two things you can say before your battery dies, before you have to go back to the
Yes.
concert? Yeah.
So a standard. Okay, so I would say a standard is a standard, right? A standard is like a barrier. It's like a set of, call it, tested and trusted values, principles, generally acceptable, and so on. Um, Please note on the tested part, right? Because some people just say, "Oh, it's my standard," and that their standard is just based on their beliefs, is based on their ideology or their experience.
Mm,
But
mm,
standards are standards, as in tested and trusted, and it's not one person that sets a standard, right? It is a community, it is a group,
mm,
it's a body of people, right? So
mm,
standard is not a personal thing. So generally speaking, just know that standards, they can now serve as guides, standards, right? And they can serve as guides for people who are trying to say, what does good look like? Or if I am supposed to measure up, if people are supposed to see me as I have attained a certain level or I have reached a certain degree of competence or something, what will they be looking at? They'll be checking if you comply with the standards. So somebody will
mm,
say, okay, let's look at standard in relationship. Let's look at something like before you get married, you should at least be able to take care of yourself. You should be independent. You should be mature. Stuff like that. Those are certain things that are standard, right? Now, if you say, "Am I ready to get married?" You can use that to test yourself. Am I able to take
mm,
care of myself? Am I mature emotionally? Am I able to deal with what marriage will require of me? You just check those things and say, okay, I think I'm okay. In fact, right now I can leave my parents' house and stay on my own. I'm not dependent. I'm not still tied to my parents' apron or strings or whatever it is. So yes, that's the thing about standards. So if you are wondering what to do, or if you're wondering what should I be checking for, you can just ask the people. People will tell you. In fact, I know from place to place, standards can be different, right? Some standards are influenced by culture. Do you understand? So if you come to Nigeria and somebody says, I'm an 18-year-old man, who will slap your face like 18-year-old man there will say. But you go to some other places, and when you are 18, you are considered an adult, complete adult. And in some cases, parents start to send their children away from home at 18 to tell them, hey, you're an adult now, go and do stuff on your own, get your own place and stuff, right? So standards can vary from place to place. So you need to test, right? You need to ask, you need to find out, so that you can be guided by the standards, guided by the standards. Now, of course, you know that standards were set. So it means that sometimes you can even improve on existing standards when you
Yeah,
know more
that,
and
that
you
was something
understand
that
more and stuff like that.
Maiwa was mentioning about how as you go through the relationship or through life, you find out that there are some standards that you had that maybe need an improvement. So the other question that someone threw during our conversation is, should you lower your standards if things are not working out? You understand? If things are not working out, what is wrong with lowering standard if things are not working out? Because we mentioned that there was a time we mentioned that even in marriages you have to quote and unquote compromise. Does it mean you have to lower your standards, so that the relationship will work? What do you think?
Okay, so when we talk about lowering standards, it's not really your stand. I mean, it's not that you're lowering standards. It's don't mix it up. Remember, we said standards are not personal. Preferences are
Mm,
personal. Preferences are personal. So when somebody
preferences are
says
personal.
lower your standards, they're saying lower, that people use the word wrongly. When they say lower your standards, basically they're saying lower your expectations, lower this bar that you set to say that people must get here before you have anything to do with them, right? That's what they mean when they say lower your standards. Like you've set it too high. Nobody can meet that standard. That's what they say when they say it. But really, what they're talking about is preferences. Do you understand? So, for instance, let's say if you're looking at the Christian faith or something, and you look at the fact that the Bible says love your neighbor unequally yoked.
Oh, I think her battery has finally died. Her battery has finally died. Anyway, when you eventually get to watch this, thank you for coming on the show and coming to, help me, coming to help me, and still being able to represent from far, 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 far away. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So the question she was trying to point out is the fact that sometimes people use the word standards wrongly. Sometimes what they are trying to say is lower your expectation, but then they end up saying lower your standards. So that question we're asking: should you lower your standards if things are not working out? Maya, why you're still there? John, we lost you. Please, can you come back? You had you heard you heard you heard Anete Bature saying that standards are different from expectation. Standards are different from expectation. So most people use standards, but what they're actually talking about is expectation. So for example, before you marry, she was saying there's a standard you're supposed to have as a man. You are not a boy. You are not a teenager. You are a man. That's the minimum standard that should be attained. But then how do you know that you are a man? what what are the things that you need to have in place in order for you to qualify as a man? So, and she says standards are not formed by an individual. They are generally accepted qualities or levels. So these are the things she was pointing out, that a lot of times we get it twisted when we're just talking about just the expectations, the feelings, the likings. And she's saying these things are not all standards. So what do you have to say to that? And there's a question to ask there: should we lower standards if things are not working out? John, are you still online?
Yeah,
Hi, I
yeah.
can see from the chat, I can see Timora is on. Hi, Timora. Hi. Ubong, hi. Thank you for joining us today. I know it's not a normal day, but I mean, the show must go on, right? The show must go on. So, John, over to you.
Yes, about lowering standards. What I would say to that is, I wouldn't say people should lower their standard. Before any relationship, I think we should be able to complement each other rather than compromising our
Mm,
standards for somebody else, right? As I said earlier, if you think right, eh, good about someone, you are supposed to be complimenting the bad in the person instead of trying to make the person work hard as if it's the relationship is a competition, right? It is supposed to be a relationship. If you are friends with someone, you really like someone, you are supposed to make the person better. Um, making someone better, you're supposed to compliment the person, the places where the
Mm,
person falter or the person is not getting it right, right? That's what I
yeah.
think about standards and trying to lower standard or trying to do something, because once we compliment someone, the person gets better, the person gets the things the person wasn't doing well, you can actually say, I think this is how I was doing this thing, you make that person the better version of themselves. And that's what I think about standards and life in relationship. Because if you're giving the person the same opportunity as you have, maybe you have
Mm,
been exposed to a better life or a better exposure, you have read certain kind of books or you have been in certain kind of places. That's how come you had this kind of information. That's how come you have evolved to this kind of person. Now maybe the person doesn't have that kind of privilege to be in that kind of place, but you having experience that can now say this can be done like this. Now it's not up to the person's thinking not to get it wrong, as to say maybe you're trying to yab them or you're trying to look down on them. If the person thinks it
ah,
right, as to say you are trying to compliment the place where they have faltering, then you guys
so
can grow together. So it's about mind.
so you see this thing you're talking about when it now comes to standard, just like Aneti had told us, that these standards are not individual. They are generally accepted and generally formed, but accepted by or adopted by the individual. I can see one of my friends, Erica. Erica, hi, Erica. You have to come on the show, if you can, where you are. Please send me a chat. You can make a comment on the live comment. Let me know if you're on, if you're able to come in. Guys, Erica is one of the counselors in the family life practice. If she's able to come, I would ask you to just send her the link on the group chat and let her just come backstage and let her just share with us pairs of wisdom on this whole standards matter. Coming from the our last week of keeping in touch with your ex and people going back to their vomit and all of that. What are the values? What are the values? What are the values that make you a man? Just like Aneti spoke about, there are certain standards that are expected for you to be called a man. There's a certain level of independence you must have for you to become a man, right? So it means that if those standards are formed, you can adopt them. But what I hear you saying, John, right now is talking about values, and I know that there's something that the family systems engineering model speaks about values, which is the certification, the coaching certification that I have, and I wish Erica can come on. I've asked them. They've sent the link in there. If she comes on, I'm sure she will have something to say about it. Mayowa, what do you have to add? I'm sure you heard what Anete spoke about. What do you have to add?
So, PK, thanks for having me on again. I think Mama touched on something just as she was about to go off.
Yeah,
She said she was about to like start a conversation on something that really maybe would help us understand what our own differences between standards and expectations are. So
yeah,
she made a comment that standards are usually beyond a person, usually set by a group of people. So just as
yeah,
she was about to go off, she said something about if you are in the Christian body and you are looking at getting married, the standards for Christendom or the standards for the body of Christ is expecting that whoever you're going to get married to should also be a Christian, and more
yeah.
importantly, someone that shares the same belief system as you do. Right. So
Exactly,
that's not an
exactly.
expectation. That's not
That's
that's
the
not
standard.
that's just the standard. That's the standard of the kingdom that you belong to. But then for expectations, so if we're now putting it in perspective, we are taking that information and we are applying it to what the big question that we're handling today is, which is, should you change your standards? So like, should you change your expectations? Should you change your values? And for that, I would say everybody, as we grow up, our expectations change. My desire for the kind of person I wanted to marry 10 years ago is vastly more modified now
Mm-hmm,
than it
mm-hmm,
was then. So like,
mm-hmm.
yeah, so like, for example, maybe when I was younger, I want like tall, fair, like that was because the looks is what is on the mind, like just having that babe, that chick that you can like show
Yeah,
the world, right? But then you grow up and then you realize
there's more.
financial management makes sense because there's more. So see myself and I'm like, if I'm going to marry somebody, the person has to be able to manage finances because I
Yeah.
think I could use help in that. And also thinking of other ways that, like, knowing myself, also knowing the places that maybe I fall short, also informs my decision on the expectations I want from somebody I'm going to get married to. So like, I don't think it is a question of, are we lowering standards? Literally everybody. So if you are at a point in your life where time is beginning to, like, the clock is beginning to tick and it's dawning on you that, okay, time is going, and you are like having that question, okay, are my expectations too high? Like, should I like, for quote and unquote, should I lower my standards? I think that is where you need to have an honest conversation with yourself as an adult. Okay, am I expecting too much? Am I okay because I earn, let's say for example, 400K a month, and then I'm like, okay, if I'm going to get married to a man, he has to at least earn 1 million. And then all the guys that are coming to you are like just maybe bankers, and they are earning like maybe like minimum wage, and you're like, oh, I can't be with you. So like, that might be some extremes in your expectations that as an adult you need to sit down and have honest conversations with yourself. Okay, what can I live without? What am I must have? What am I need to have? And sit down with yourself and have, or maybe sit down with your mentors and streamline your expectations. So if you have now done that, and then okay, PK, you want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to say what I hear you saying is that over the years, your expectations may change, but your
Exactly.
values and your standards may not go down. They are mostly remaining. Instead, they
Yes.
may do what? You may upgrade them. But your
Yes, exactly.
expectations, if time is going, you can drop the expectation small, because to say this thing is not a value. Ah,
Yes,
I have
exactly.
Erica in the backstage. Erica is a family life practitioner. She's an empowerment coach, self-empowerment coach. She deals with she speaks to singles, young people, and even couples, but she's a self-empowerment coach, and she's on here today. Erica, please, if you can share your camera, okay. If you can't share your camera, can you share with us? I have a few guys with me online. John is married. But Mayowa is not, right? And we have just been speaking on this topic. My wife came up before her battery died. She came up to say a few things about standards and to differentiate between standards and expectations, where standards are values, but expectations, are things that can change, that come and go. So, Erica, you do have the floor. Can you hear us? Can you speak from
I
where
can
you
hear
are?
you guys. Good evening,
Yeah,
everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be in the house today.
Good evening, ma.
I am so sorry for coming late. I was in another meeting, so I just zoomed out to be able to catch up even some few minutes before you guys run out. So
yeah.
I might not be very aware of all what has been spoken, but I will say some few things about standards and about values.
Go ahead,
First
please.
of all, somebody just said a while ago that standards are mostly set by the people around you. Like he gave an example of you're in church, you want to get married, you know that this is what they expect, this is what they expect.
Right.
I can add to that by saying that standards are not only set by the people around you, the circumstances in which you find yourself, where you grew up, and all of that. Sometimes standards are set by yourself. Like you could set standards for yourself. You
Hmm.
could say that this is what I want. I can't go beyond this level. I can't go above this level. This is what I expect for in a life partner. This is the kind of things I would desire to have. Like you can give yourself standards. You can give yourself the standards by which you live. And generally those standards are mostly based on your values. I like the definition Kingsley mentioned values a while ago. And I would like to add that most standards that people set for themselves are usually based on the values they have in life. The
Hmm.
first thing is, what are your values? What values do you hold on to?
Hmm.
For some people, their values are fear of God, respect,
Mhm.
love. When depending on what your values are, your standards can easily be set from there.
Hmm.
So if you meet somebody who generally doesn't have values in life, it would not be surprising if that person has no standards or walk by no standards. They
Yeah.
just go as anywhere life carries them to, like whatever direction life pushes them to, they just flow. But if you have stand values for your values by which you walk as an individual, you'll be able to set standards by which you as an individual should work or can go by.
Yes.
That doesn't change the fact that the environment where we find ourselves, like the church for those who are in church and Pentecostal settings, there is
Yeah.
already a standard that imposes on you. But my point tonight is just that aside from those standards, individuals, you can set standards. You can also set standards for yourself. The only challenge we have is make sure that whatever standards you're setting for yourself are not too high that nobody can meet, and are
Hmm.
not too low that just messes up your way of living. Whatever standards you're setting, you should be able to strike a balance. That's the point.
Hmm. Whatever standards you're setting, you should be able to strike a balance. Yes, you should be able to
Right.
strike a balance. Well,
Right.
Erica, that is fantastic. Mayawa is still on. Mayawa, you have the chance to ask Erica a question. Like I said, she's a self-empowerment coach and a family life practitioner. She's actually even going to be with me on a session and a community infusion session that we're having next weekend. I think maybe I'll put that link at the end of the show. Mayawa, as a single guy, what do you what question do you have to ask? You have one opportunity because we book a session with her.
It's
It's going to be
$100.
a few thousands. So you have an opportunity now that Erica is here to ask her a question.
Hello, ma. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayowa. It's nice to meet you.
The pleasure is truly mine, ma. You sound very sound. It's a pleasure to meet you, ma.
And she's calling from Cameroon. And by the way, she's calling from Cameroon, by the way.
Wow. It's a pleasure to meet you, ma. So I think my question would be, how how far should one go, like when, so like you mentioned, like we can also set standards for ourselves, like personal standards and all. Do you like have where you just strike a balance that, okay, let this, like, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense, this is too far, this is fine? So if I were to take, like, okay, I'm going back and I'm like, okay, I'm reviewing, I'm putting things into perspective. What are the standards I have for myself? And okay, are they too far? So what would you say is too far from your own perspective as regarding personal standards, not community based or societal based standards, like personal standards
Okay.
for
Okay, I get your point. Before I get into stating what can be too far, I would like to state the fact that there are some things that are negotiable and there are some that are non-negotiable.
Fantastic.
So we
Fantastic.
can, whatever it is, whatever standards you're setting, you should make sure that they are negotiable and they are non-negotiable. I will take an example. Since somebody mentioned the Christian setting, I will take the Christian setting again. Let me take an example for a young girl who has this guy who is interested in her. She should be able to tell herself that, for example, I want to get married to somebody tomorrow. These are the standards I've set for myself, and these ones I can negotiate. If like the person's height, the person's color, the person's job, those are things that can be negotiated. You see, they are negotiables. Like I can do without. I could like if this one doesn't go, I could do with the other. Those are stuffs that are negotiable. There are others that are non-negotiable. For example, if I'm a child of God, I should be able to get married to somebody who is a Christian, right? I should be able to get married to somebody who fears God. For me, that should be a non-negotiable. Like it's something I cannot drop my standards on that one. Like if that is my standard, that is my standard. I can't drop it. Meanwhile, when it comes to job, on the other hand, I can negotiate and I can drop it. I can change. If my standard was like, I must get married to somebody who is a doctor, I find somebody who is doing something else. If the person meets the other standards, okay, we can go with that. That means that is a negotiable. So I wanted to make that clear before I say what can be so far, what is too far, and what is. First of all, what do you expect? What do you desire? What is your dream? What do you view? What do you have in mind for your home and for your marriage for tomorrow? That is where it all begins. What vision do you have for your marriage? Because what is a standard that is too high or too low will depend on what vision you have.
Right.
I will take again another example. I want to have a home that is like a solution center, a home that will be an example in my society, will teach other people how to live as a couple, will mold young people. That is an example. When I have that as my example, I must make sure that whatever standards I'm setting for a life partner, it must include the fact that person must be compatible vision-wise. I cannot have that as a vision, and I'm getting married. I set a standard, and for me, anybody, I don't care whether you intend to have a happy home tomorrow, whether you like, I just can't pick anybody. I must pick somebody who sees things like I do, somebody who understands the vision and who thinks that he or she is ready to walk by that vision, and by that. So whatever standards I'm setting, I cannot tell you that this is too far, this is too low, because I don't know the vision you have for your couple tomorrow. So it's you alone who can set what is too high or too low. But what I will tell you tonight is that go back to your vision, go back to what vision you have for your home for tomorrow, and take a look at it, and take a look at what you need to be able to accomplish that vision. From what you need to be able to accomplish that vision, you should be able to know who I need, what I don't need, what standards I must set, and what standards I must not set. So that's the most appropriate answer I can give, because I cannot tell you that, if the person is tall, that means that no. If the person is doing this kind of job, that means that no. That's standard. I cannot give you clear cut. There's really no rule, because you alone know what you want to live tomorrow. You alone know what you aspire for. So it's you alone who can set the standards you expect and the standards you want to get. But what I can tell you is that, like I said earlier, go back to your vision. Go back to sit back and reflect on what you expect to live tomorrow. Sit and put down what you need. If you want to have a happy home tomorrow, tell yourself that, okay, what do I need to have a happy home? What are some of the requirements? When you look at the requirements, you have to be able to divide it and say, okay, this I can make, this is negotiable, this is not negotiable, this I can do without, this I cannot do without. When you have all of that figured out, you should be able to, at the end of the day, looking at your values, you should be able to say that, okay, because of this vision, for me to accomplish this vision, this is what I need, this is what I don't need, this is the standard I can set for myself. That's the most appropriate answer I can give.
Erica, you are burning up the stage. And like I told you guys, she's going to be one of the counselors with me at the program we are having at the sessions. We are going to have a community infusion session next weekend. It's called You Engineering, and the flyer will be posted here. But Erica, before you go, Victor just joined us. Victor is joining us from the UAE. Victor, how are you doing? Victor, how are you doing? Victor, do you want to take a go, or can Erica step down? I'm sure you heard her speaking, and you can hear how passionate she is on fire. Coming from Cameroon. So Victor,
Yeah.
let's hear you.
Uh,
Let's
she has said, she has actually said a lot of things. And when I was joining, I was like, okay, but as soon as I joined and listened to her, she has said a lot of things. One thing I would just little Kobo I would just add is something that was just burning based on everybody coming on stage and comments and everything. I just
yeah,
feel like people need to also, apart from the spiritual side of it and everything, I think people need to also be honest with themselves. A lot
right.
of people tend to expect what they themselves cannot give. So there's this thing, I have my standards and I have my expectations and
Mm,
everything. And you're questioning how come I've done everything right, I have my standard, I have my expectation, I'm spiritual, but they are lying to themselves and they are not seeing it. You know, when people have lied to themselves so much that they lie, their lie now becomes their own truth, and they are living in this bubble where even when a counselor is talking to them, they don't even believe what is this person talking about and everything. A lot of
mm,
people lie to themselves. The people need to first of all look within themselves and know what their truth is. You understand, and make sure that you are not expecting what you yourself cannot give, because if you are into certain kind of likes and wants, and then you've lied to yourself, you lie to yourself to the point that you now build a false narrative of what ought to be. Then you find that what ought not to be, you get into that, you get married, and you find out during the course of your marriage you are actually living a lie. This is not what you thought it would be, because everything came from a false narrative. It came from the
narrative.
point of you lying to yourself. So you're living in an alternate universe of what your reality ought to be. Your timeline, instead of you to go left, you actually went right and built a new timeline that is completely wrong. So you spend the last couple of 5 years, 8 years building, harvesting on the wrong ground or the wrong soil, everything, working hard, and you're questioning why nothing is going through. So people need to learn to start first, be honest with themselves, shut down every external voice, honest with yourself. What is my truth? Once you realize what your truth is, and then you now know, okay, fine, this is how I guess I will go about it and all that stuff. That's just all I would just add.
Fantastic, fantastic,
Thank you.
Victor. Erica, thank you for showing up and burning up the lines. Maya, I'm sure you got your money's worth. I'm sure you got your money's worth in
Yeah,
questions.
yeah, I did.
Erica,
Thank
thank
you
you
very
so much.
much
Thank you for
for
coming
us.
on the show today. Victor, like always, it's you every time you show up, there are pearls of wisdom to glean from. I think, and it's interesting. You every time you show up, I'm sure this is like it's like midnight in Dubai, right? It's like midnight.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
12 midnight. 12
So
midnight, yeah.
it's always a pleasure every time you make it to come.
Yeah.
I said I'm flying solo today because my wife is she's having administration in Abuja, so she left me, but she tried to come
Yeah.
in sometime in the show, but then
Yeah, I
her
saw
battery,
that. I saw
yeah,
that, yeah.
her battery ran out. Thank you guys. Thank you for coming on the show. The
Thank
standards are
you.
clear, and there's this program I said that it's coming up. It's called the it's called we called it You Engineering, and the reason for this, just to point to something that you spoke about. The link is there, and we could offer it to we we have offered it to a few people to just come in because we don't want such a big crowd, but if you feel it's something that you need to go, it's for singles and couples, especially young couples, or to look at how are we doing. Just like you spoke about, it's possible to come in with you say these are my standards, but over time things have changed. But when was the last time you did an evaluation or a review of to say how are we doing as a couple, or what kind of, just like Erica spoke about, in the family life practice we call that marital formation. What kind of marriage do I want to have? What kind of marital formation do I want to have? Just like football, what kind of formation do I want to play? Do I want to play 4-4-2, or do I want to play 3-5-2? What is the intent? What's the vision for my marriage? What kind of family do I want to have? Now, when you have done that, you can now decide what are the values that we must have, that we must possess. So those are some of the things that we're going to discuss at this community infusion. So we speak to couples, we speak to singles. Singles, just like you spoke about Victor. Sometimes singles come in and they say, "Oh, these are my standards," but They are pseudo. They are the standards you put for yourself just because of maybe so that you can belong. They are not the real you. They are not the real you. They are just things that you picked up because it feels like, this one will make me something. But they are not the real you. So we're going to be looking at you because a lot of times people have problems and they want to look outside. Meanwhile, the first place you should look is look inside. Why am I like this? What are the values that have brought me here? What are the things that are wrong? What are the things that I've picked up that are probably not even mine? Do you understand? They are probably not even mine, but I've picked them
Yeah,
up and they are becoming deciding factors in my life. Those are some of the things that we're going to be doing there.
yeah.
After this show,
Especially in this day and age of God when on Instagram,
God
when they
when,
will post something on Insta blog, God
uh,
when, oh, goal, goal, couple goal, God when,
God
so you
when.
now find out that you start building your false narrative based off that. But you don't know what those
Mm,
people are going through. You're just going based on something you think is actually a reality. And you say, you know what? From now on, if my husband is not like this, if my
uh,
wife is not like that, then it's not good for me. If you are not that, if you're not doing that, if you're not paying for a private jet for me, like this guy is doing for his wife, or if you're not doing that, or if you're not posting me on social media like this person, if you're not
yeah,
like God, man.
God when. What have you picked up? What have you picked up that really isn't supposed to be? You know, um, this is so true. This is so true. And I just wanted to say for those that are online now, I can give you a direct access to that link. It's been posted in the group. It's been posted in the group. You can register. You can register for that event. It's a 2 day. It's just going to be 2 day sessions, and we're just going to expose you to certain tools that you can use to evaluate yourself, and it now opens your eyes, empowers you, and you can just begin to it will sharpen your cutting edge. That's why we call it you engineering. They look so simple, but it just changes. It opens your mind, opens your eyes, and you're like, now maybe this. And it positions you for to move ahead. Erica, thank you so much for coming. It's already 1 hour. I thought I was going to do 30 minutes because I'm flying solo today, but it's already 1 hour.
It's my pleasure. I actually had a good time. It's true I came in late, but
Yeah,
I'm so glad I was able to catch up at least even the last minute. And I really blessed, and I actually agree very much to what Victor just said, that people get married because of they get carried away because of what they see on social media.
yeah.
They see people's posts, and they begin imagining things, and there they go getting into marriages with the wrong reasons.
Wrong
Like a
reason.
lot of people, young people nowadays, get into marriage with the wrong mindsets and the wrong ideologies and the wrong notion about marriage as a whole. And when they get in there, they become surprised. I have a book I'm writing, 12 things nobody told me about marriage. When I'll
Mm,
have an opportunity, I will share some of the things, because a lot of people get into marriage and then reality hits right in when they are in need, and they are like, oh, this is not what I thought. Oh, this is not what I used to see. Oh, this is not what I used to hear. This is not what I used to see from people's posts
from
and pictures
outside, yeah.
and videos. Like, this is different from what I thought I was going to experience. And then reality is hitting them when it is actually late, like they're already in need. Like, they are faced with it right there.
Mm,
Meanwhile, if they had the right notions and the right education, the
yeah.
proper knowledge needed about marriage before getting into it, it would have been a lot more different.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Thank you for coming on the show, but it's already 1 hour and we have to go. We have to
Thank
go.
you.
Erica, thank you. Mayowa, thank you for riding with me. You came in and your perspective, also made things work. Everybody, it's time to go. Remember how we always say on this show that common sense is not so common. And join us again for another episode of this same series. It's going to be coming next week, and by God's grace, next week my wife will be here. She may even be the only one here because I'll probably be in the U engineering session. But if we finish that session on time, I'll be here to join the show. But like we said, remember, common sense is not so common. Bye.
Thank you once again for joining us. We hope you got great value today. Our goal is to bring you valuable information to help you make better decisions in your life and relationships. Please do not forget to subscribe, share, and like.